So this is part 2 in a series on spiritual intelligence, and I'm trying to build the picture from basic knowledge and information and then take it a little further. So as the second piece in that puzzle, I want to talk about effectively the assault on reason that's taking place in our world today. In other words, it's very hard to get information that is reliable and accurate. Now, all the major institutions in society have dumbed down our ability to learn independent pieces of information. So let me talk you through what I see as the dumbing down of society, starting with politics, of course. It's the most obvious example. Now, Al Gore, his book was called The Assault on Reason, which is really sums up my whole point. But he starts his book with a story that took place in the Senate just before the invasion of Iraq. And he tells a story of Senator Robert Byrd giving an impassioned speech before the Senate, who he thought were just making absolutely no attempt to have an open and a critical conversation about the invasion on Iraq. This is what Robert Byrd said. He said, "This chamber is for the most part silent, ominously, dreadfully silent. There's no debate, no discussion, no attempt to lay out for the nation the pros and cons of this particular war. There's nothing. We stand passively mute in the United States Senate." Now, we all know what a disaster the invasion of Iraq turned out to be, and we all know that within a couple of years, the majority of the country believed that this invasion was a mistake. But the real tragedy was that at the level of national leadership, they weren't prepared to be informed before making the decision. They weren't prepared to have open dialogue. They weren't prepared to hear opposing views. They just marched headlong into an invasion that made no sense whatsoever. Now, if we don't have informed leadership from politicians, how can we expect the nation to be informed? So the first example I have of the dumbing down of society is politics, but it's not the only one. There's also education. And we've seen so much censorship in education in recent years. It's almost like teachers can get fired now for doing their jobs, for doing the very thing we ask them to do, which is to inform our young people, to give them the faculties to know how to critique, how to see both sides of a situation, how to take broad perspectives. We've dumbed it down and we've censored it. There's even a law called the anti-ethnic, what is it called? The Anti-Ethnic Studies Law that was passed in Arizona, and various forms of it around the country now, which has banned certain books. Even The Tempest by Shakespeare, Civil Disobedience by Thoreau, Everything by Isabel Allende, great author, an author that our kids should be studying. These books have all been banned, and it's an act of censorship which the country will come to rue in the future, because we'll be raising young people who won't have the ability to think broadly and to solve problems in creative ways. This is one last piece of information on education. One of the school board members in Arizona was giving a lecture on this very act, and he described, in telling some stories, he talked about Rosa Clark instead of Rosa Parks. It was a tragic mistake for him to make. But it signified what happens when we censor information. We end up with a dumbed down system, and education's another example. But religion, and this one's close to my heart, religion hasn't helped either. Religion has also been an assault on reason. We've expected people to leave their brains at the door when they walk into churches, which is the absolute opposite to the way it should be. Now, the comedian Jon Stewart said, "Yeah, reason's been a big part of religion ever since two nudists took dietary advice from a talking snake," which gives you an idea that, following that perspective, religion has been a long succession of expecting people to believe things that are unreasonable, unbelievable, like virgin births, like a heaven which is just somewhere beyond the sky that millions and billions of people are supposed to be living in beyond death. We're expected to believe these things which are an assault on reason. And religion should be one of those places where people learn how to think, to be informed. in the broadest possible way. But the fourth example, the quartet of ignorance in society today, is the media. Now, I heard a study was done that said people who watch Fox News know less about current events and current affairs than people who watch no news at all. And I heard that MSNBC is not much better than that. Now, there are some beacons of hope and light. For example, NPR and the Sunday morning political shows have a much better reputation. But again, the media has dumbed down society, feeding us misinformation, feeding us opinions more than facts. Now, everyone is entitled to their factual opinions, but not everyone is entitled to their opinions that are bereft of facts. So we are in this assault on reason now, and my call is that we reclaim information, reclaim the ability, the power, and the means to be informed, to know why we believe what we believe, and to believe things that make sense.